listener production.
I'm automotive commentator and journalist Greg Rust, and this is Rusty's Garage.
I'm in South Australia for this episode at the Adelaide 500, but my guest isn't a supercars driver. Matt Mingay is a record-breaking stunt rider who puts on a heck of a show. He came to the attention of movie makers and has worked on some major Hollywood and Bollywood productions, playing doubles for big-name actors. As you'll hear, his speech is a little impaired. That's the result of a massive race crash in Detroit in 2016 that almost killed him. This weekend, after passing rigorous medical tests, he's back competing in a stadium super truck. This is a remarkable story of someone who was obsessed with bikes and unconventional riding from a very young age and never gave up.
Yeah, absolutely. I got my first mini bike when I was 7 years old.
What was it?
A little Dixon for a little while, for like 2 weeks. Then I got an XR75, and I got a good progressive there, RM80, RM125, Ways at 80. It just goes on and on and on. And my real interest in motorcycles was I got my learner's permit and I got a little CB100. And I used to wheel sell that absolutely everywhere. And when I was 18, I got 9 kilometres wheel stand. I was 18.
You did a wheel stand for 9Ks?
Yeah, when I was 18. And I got reason why I put the wheel down because I pulled over by the cops. So I was wheel standing down the highway and people going past me, beeping the horn and yelling out, "Yeah, how good's that?" And a guy pulled up beside me. I ignored him and they put their lights on and sirens on. And I told all the coppers, they pulled me over and they booked me.
Crazy. Did you keep any of those? Because you've got a little bit of a collection of things now. Did you keep any of those bikes from the early years at all?
I wish I did. I really wish I kept that one especially because that was what I learned how to do wheel stands on. And I won my first wheel stand competition on that bike when I was 20 years old. Everyone was wheel standing down Lakeside Straight, and I wheel standing down Lakeside Straight around the corners.
That's amazing. Did that sense of balance and the technique required to do that, did that come easy to you? How many falls were there in learning that sort of stuff?
Not at all. People say to me I'm too natural, and I put it down to practice. Honestly, God, people don't practice enough. They'll never get any better if they don't practice. And the amount of times I practice was just day in, day out, just constant practice. And when I started stunt riding, there was no one else to watch because I've been doing it for 23 years. It wasn't DVDs around, it was VHS, and there was no one in Australia at all doing stunt riding, so I learned a hell of a lot by trial and error. Usually way too much error. And that's where I break a hell of a lot of bones doing what I do, so yeah.
Amazing. So the whole notion of stunt riding and things like that, it clearly was what you wanted to do. I mean, were you at school? Were you sort of parking the schoolwork and focusing on this kind of thing? What were you like?
Oh, absolutely. Evel Knievel was my biggest hero. That's why I got a tattoo of Evel Knievel with the autograph on my arm. My little boy's name is Max Evil, after Evel Knievel. I loved Evel Knievel. I wanted to be a stuntman since I was a kid. And I got the opportunity to be a stunt rider, and I took a graduate with both horns, just took it as far as I could.
Amazing. So from that incident on the highway to progressing to becoming professional, what was that path? What sort of jobs did you do in between time? Because I would imagine you still had to keep the practice up, but were you making ends meet in other ways? How were you doing it?
Yeah, so I was a motorbike mechanic. I was a bike mechanic, and I got hired. I won a wheel stand competition. I beat Rob Bolger in a wheel stand competition. At the time, he was a European champion. And I got picked up quite a few shows up, and my boss wouldn't give me the time off work. So I threw a towel in, and that was 23 years ago. I've never had a job ever since. And so the first few years were pretty rough. Only show here and there, make ends meet. But my biggest break was about 3 years into it. I got a job as Tom Cruise's stunt-double in Mission Impossible 2. And that was the biggest break I've ever had. Working for 9 weeks, 7 weeks 3 weeks beside Tom Cruise himself, and it was a big move, big break. And after that, every single person wanted to have Tom Cruise's stunt-double at their event.
I reckon that's the first time you and I came across each other. I think they filmed that in Sydney largely, didn't they? What were the bikes that you were on then? Were they MV Augustas? What were you riding?
No, they were Triumphs. So I got a job. Apparently 9 people applied for the job, and I was at Eastern Creek Raceway. So they flew me down for it, and I was late to it because I had to fly in, and they're all practicing on the front straight, doing horrible little wheel stands, and so I hopped on this Triumph and did massive wheel stands, stoppies, donuts, and I skied behind the bike. And Tom was there, and he said, "Oh, he's got a job." So I got a job straight away, and over quite a few annoyed people, I got a job. So it was pretty good.
Very good. When you do that stuff, how much of it is seat of the pants, Matt Mingay experience, and how much of it is science and engineering, understanding the bike, understanding the stunt location and what you have to do within a certain area or space, for example?
Yeah, none of that. So it's all just wing it.
Experience.
Yeah, like I said before, a lot of it's practicing and winging it. I've had some mighty big crashes my last accident in Detroit marks 47 broken bones I've had doing what I do. So yeah, I've had a few. And like I said, when I first started, there was no one else to ask how to do it. Now there's books and magazines and DVDs and Facebook, for example. There wasn't on that when I started, so I just do it and hope for the best.
Was that movie experience a bit surreal for a young bloke? Tom Cruise, I mean, A-list celebrity, a franchise in Mission Impossible that's gone on to do some amazing things, and here you are as the double for the great man.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember at one stage I was sitting and dressed exactly the same, had a fake wig on, makeup, because all the bike stars were shot with a helmet on. So I looked exactly like Tom was, sitting on 2 deck chairs side by side for about an hour because there was a problem with the set, and I was thinking to myself, I'm doing pretty good. I'm sitting beside Tom Cruise. We're just chatting and yarning about bikes, and that's pretty good. It's pretty surreal.
Very. What things did you, obviously you'd worked in the bike shop, you knew and loved the mechanical aspect of it. So when you're in that scenario, do you go, okay, we need to, trim this, make this, change this? What things would you like on the bike to personalise it so you can move it around and do those stunts, because when they roll film, mate, it's expensive, isn't it? You've got to try and execute, in as limited amount of takes as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to change the bike quite a lot and do quite a few things to it, and I was only allowed to change things on the bike that you couldn't pick it up. No one could see it. So in that case, it was very hard to do it. I couldn't change gearing too much, change gearing a little tiny bit, and tyre pressures and tyres and handlebars, and so I was a bit stuck on a few areas, but I still managed to do it. Do
they come to you and say, okay, shoot location is this, we'd roughly like you to do these moves, whatever it might be, but then like a comedian, are there moments where you freewheel or go off script or try other things that you think might work or look even more spectacular?
Oh, funny you mention that, because since Mission Impossible I've done something like 10 or 12 films and commercials and stuff, and the funniest one I've ever worked on is Indian films. Bollywood. Yeah. I've done about 4 Bollywood films, and the biggest one, the funniest one, my very first one, I went over to India to do it. And the director said, what we want you to do next is get on the G6R 600. Yeah. Get on the stunt bike, because it's stunt bike, it wasn't a stunt bike, it was a box stock bike, and jump over the helicopter. And when you're jumping over the helicopter, we're going to pull your jacket off and throw it in the blades. I'm like, come again? I didn't quite get it. Are you serious? What, you can do that? You're a stuntman? No. I was like, I thought it was joking. I was looking around thinking, is he taking a piss or what?
So did you draw the line there, or did you execute?
Of course I did. I've never jumped a bike in my life. If it starts alone, take my jacket off and throw it in the blades or a spinning helicopter. I couldn't believe it. So he was kind of taken back when they turned around and spoke in his language. And God knows what he said to the other person. But it was kind of eye-opener for me.
Bollywood is still a big deal, mate, isn't it?
Bollywood's huge. People don't understand. Bollywood's the biggest film industry in the world is Bollywood, and it overtakes Hollywood by a mile, by a long shot. It's huge.
So how much did the Mission Impossible experience help you from a career standpoint? I mean, it's... I would imagine there's probably an element of privacy. You probably couldn't talk about everything in relation to Tom or whatever, but still to have that on the CV and walk into different things and say, okay, I was stunt double for Tom Cruise. That's in stunt terms, that's a big ticket, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. But the biggest thing was trying to convince people that I was telling the truth. I swear to God, the funny thing was that I was Tom Cruise's stunt double. I was about a month to, and I was single. I remember going to a nightclub and saying to a girl, "I'm Tom Cruise's stunt double," and they, "Yeah, whatever, buddy." And I thought to myself, that is the stupidest thing to say ever. And quite a lot of promoters, big promoters, take it on board, and it did. It certainly advanced my career big time. Every single event in Australia wide wanted Tom Cruise's stunt double at their event. So it certainly broadened my event list somewhat, that's for sure.
Clearly, it's adrenaline fueled for you in that sense. We'll get to some of the crashes soon, but when you can pull off some of those moves, how rewarding is that? How many moments have there been where you get the heart flutter because you know it was pretty close to going to custard?
Oh, mate, absolutely. I mean, hardest thing in the whole world is because I practice so much. Most time I was practicing by myself, and so quite often I'd break an ankle, break a leg, and break an arm, and I had to quickly, as fast as I could, get myself here, chuck it in the van or the ute, and get out of there because pain sets in about an hour later. It sets in the hardest. So the sooner I get to the hospital, the faster. And so I remember breaking an ankle, and I was by myself in the middle of we just practiced at Old Brisbane Airport, and I was by myself, no one around to be seen. I had busted, broken ankle, and I was quick as I could, rode the bike in the back of the van and tied the bike down and jumped in. It was a manual, it was my left ankle, and I had to try and use a clutch. So that was pretty hard. That was pretty hard, a very hard moment.
You've alluded to a little bit of life there. So what was the van? Where were you living? And was it tough making ends meet in some of those early days?
Absolutely. I was on the bones of my ass. I was a Dodge Hiace van, and as a G6R, lived 192 model.
Yeah. Standard Hiace van. What was it?
Yeah, bog stocks, 5 on a tree. It was a little gem. And I said, I borrowed money off mum to support my fuel to get to an event, and quite often sleep in the back of the van.
Crazy.
And it was just things I had to do. People don't think of it these days, but it's what you got to do.
Lots of bike guys end up with those Hiaces or vans because they're quite handy for that sort of stuff. What were the conversations like with mum? Was she okay about you doing this? Never?
Never. No, mum and dad hated. Back in the CB100 days, I was wagging to school one day in grade 12. I was wagging to school. I went through a roundabout and I got run over by a cement truck.
Whoa.
And I had a massive big compound fracture in my left leg. Broke the helmet strap, broke a rib, fractured my skull, and I thought I was dead. And I put a blanket over me because I was knocked out. And it wasn't until the petrol was melting my leg, because the petrol burst, and it wasn't on fire, it was just melting my leg. And I came to, and my left toe was virtually going up my butthole because my bone was hanging out my leg. Oh. And that was grade 12, so I was 3 weeks in the hospital for that. And kind of from that moment on, mum and dad said, right, that's it, never ever let her have another motorbike ever again. And it wasn't until about 3 years later, I said, I'm going to be a stuntman. And you can imagine how that went down. I think my father didn't talk to me for about 6 months, didn't talk to me. And it wasn't until about a year later, 2 years later, I got a job as Tom Cruise's stunt double, Mission Impossible. And mum was wrapped one day because he heard dad bragging to some friends his son's Tom Cruise's stunt double. So that was a very big moment for me. Very, very big moment.
Fantastic. Is it about the power of the motorcycle, or is that not important? It's the way you use it. I mean, there's some unbelievable bikes in the marketplace nowadays, and I'm sure there's all kinds you've ridden over time. But is it about what you do to the bike, how you modify it, and is power on tap not necessarily the key ingredient?
Yeah, absolutely not. People, when I started stunt riding, it was all 1100 cc's. Yeah. With most horsepower you can get. Now it's all slowed right down. People are stunt riding 600s and 400 cc's. It's by no means is it power. My Harley has been riding my Harley for 10 years, and it's like 80 horsepower. People think it's oh my God, it's a Harley Davidson. I realise it's only got 80 horsepower, which most bikes got 100, 120, 140 horsepower. So it makes a big difference. But yeah, it's all about balance and how you ride it, as simple as that.
The Matrix Reloaded weaving in and out of traffic motorbike chase scene is the most expensive stunt with a motorbike. A fake highway was built on an abandoned naval base. It took 3 months to shoot, crashed 300 cars. The cost, $127 million.
Since I first came across you not long after the Tom Cruise stuff, we've crossed paths on regular occasions with the Supercars Championship, because Stunts Inc. and some of the things that you've been doing in between the sessions, you do these shows for the fans, both 2 and 4-wheel. Get to the cars soon. But the 2-wheel shows are, you kind of always change it up. And some of the moves you were talking about, skiing off the back of it or whatever it was, I mean, there's some amazing moves, mate.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I always try and advance and come up with new tricks. The good thing about Europe and America, they're always advancing new tricks, and you see some tricks and you go, wow, how did you do that? And so it's a matter of trying to figure out how to do that trick. But yeah, it's always progressing. I've slowed down quite a bit lately because of my injury. Yeah. I still stunt ride, but I tame it all back a little bit just because I want to stay in one piece. Because between you and me, I'm sick of breaking bones. Yeah.
What did you say the tally was before?
47.
47. And, the big crash is at Belle Isle in Detroit, which we'll get to in 2016, because that's been a massive thing for you that you've come back from, mate. It's an incredible story. Most people, if they're into bikes, throw a leg over the seat, get on it, and they go and ride. It might be a nice country ride somewhere or riding, commuting to work. But for you could end up sitting on the handlebars, you could end up standing on that seat. There's all sorts of things, isn't there?
Yeah, I know. It's so funny because I try and behave myself when I go for a normal ride. But I got a gang of people. They don't ask me so much anymore, but they used to ask me all the time, "Oh, come for a ride with me, Mingay. Come for a ride with me," because I know when we go for a ride, I'm a complete dickhead on a motorbike, just doing wheelies everywhere, stand-up wheelies, sit on a handlebar, doing wheelies, no-handle wheelies, scraping the tail on the ground. You know, I'm trying to impress, trying to show off, mainly to show off.
When you were hanging off the back for the first time and you were kind of skiing behind it, how the hell do you prep for that? Where do you train for that?
Yeah, no, it was a tough one. So I made some alloy shoes with big titanium plates on to make the sparks. And I was, I think the first one I did behind a car, a van, a high-end van.
So you call up a mate or something?
Yeah, got a mate to drive. I to see how much friction the skis have. And I realised I was quite slippery, so the next thing was just jump off the back of the bike. So after about 4 runs, I bugger it and just jumped straight off the back. And I managed to jump back on again, and there was a big fist pump in the air. And the fastest I did was 245 k's an hour jumping off the back skiing. And the record was...
say that again, 240 k's?
245 k's an hour. And the record was held by Gary Rothwell at 265. So I always wanted to break it, but I never bike fast enough.
Have you broken other records? What about other records in the back?
Yeah, I've broken a few records. I've broken a fastest stoppie world record, rolling on the front wheel at 217, so 212 kilometres an hour, and someone beat me at 215 kilometres an hour, but 2 years later, so I broke it again, 217 kilometres an hour. And people don't realise that 217 kilometres an hour, you have to jam the front brakes on, and so by the time the back wheel comes off the ground, you wash off about 10 or 15 k's. So you jam the front brakes at 230 k's an hour, so you get 217.
That is wild. A stoppie at 200 plus kilometres an hour.
It's not fun.
People must say, mate, are you mad?
No, it's just... yeah, I've had that a few times. But other ones, fastest wheel stand. So I did a fastest wheel stand at 245 kilometres an hour for 1 kilometre.
Where'd you do that?
I did an old airstrip down past Sydney for Guinness World Records. Guinness World Records hired us for a TV show.
Fantastic.
So that was my only official Guinness World Record.
Fastest wheel stand.
Fastest wheel stand for 1 kilometre.
Mega.
And then I broke the world. I broke the world record for longest wheel stand on a Harley Davidson at 54 kilometres.
Say that again.
So I broke a world record for the longest wheel stand on a Harley Davidson. It was about 54 kilometres.
Where did you do this and how long did it take?
Now, the only reason it's not official because you can't get it registered on Guinness World Records because they can't register a name of a motorcycle brand.
Okay.
So the world record for doing longest wheel stand on a motorcycle is something like 200 kilometres.
Yep.
Someone did on a scooter around the velodrome.
Okay.
And got refuel while he's on wheel stand. I know, stupid, I know. So it wasn't official, but haven't had anyone say they've proven they beat me for 54 Ks. And the only reason I put it down because I ran out of fuel.
Amazing.
Yeah, because the petrol pickup was halfway along the tank, so I wanted to buy its vertical, only half tank of fuel.
Okay. Crazy, mate. So when you come to an event like Supercars and the many other shows that you do around the country, for that matter, you for your client and for you personally, you want to put on a good show.
Oh, absolutely.
Has it ever gone to custard?
Absolutely. I get annoyed quite often because I turn up to an event and I say I've only got 2 shows today. I try to get 4, and they go, a promoter go, what are you whinging for? I only want you to do 2 shows. But my main thing I'm trying to do is build my fan base.
Yes.
Always trying to keep my fans happy. Always trying to keep them impressed and want them to come back for more. So the more shows we have, the better. It's always the way.
Yeah, and you have, over time, mate, built quite an army, quite a social media following. What are the numbers now?
Yeah, my Facebook's 1.2 million. My Instagram's not very big. It's only 38,000 people. But so for many years, I don't know if I'm still in mode, but I was the most followed motorsport athlete in Australia. Over Chad Reed and the likes of overall Formula 1 drivers, everyone.
When did the idea of adding 4-wheel start to kick off? Was it to do with the injuries, and you felt like I'm going to need to merge into something else here?
Not at all. We I was far out. I can't remember now. It was like 2003, 2004. I was with Rory Bolger, as you probably know him too well.
Yeah.
He'd made a highest van. The highest van put a Commodore V8 in it. Big van, and we did big burnouts at Bathurst. Big
What the hell? They would have shoehorned that in, did you, in an engineering sense?
It was pretty funny. So we did big burnouts and pop tyres at Bathurst. So the crowd thought it was great. So it was the very next weekend, Holden came to us and said, do you want 2 utes? I said, what? Come again? So do you want 2 utes to do your show in?
Like SS utes or something?
Yeah, SSUs. Yeah, SSUs. The VU, I think it was back then. And we thought we'd take the piss again. I thought, oh, yeah, okay. And sure enough, about 2 weeks later, 2 brand new utes turned up on a doorstep. And we get the hell out of here, no way. So, as you can imagine, we hit the streets for the next week, just wrecking these things. And they kind of blossomed from there. We're the first people in Australia to start drifting, and we've been drifting ever since.
Mega. So, what sort of things did you think you would need to, in the same way that a race team, builds a roll cage or does things like, what sort of things do you think you would need to add in an engineering sense to the cars for the shows you wanted to do? Oh,
some things before. We're the first people in Australia doing it, so it was very much trial and error. We knew the basics, make it look different, suspension and exhaust, make it more powerful, etc., etc. But things just progressed from there. Things started breaking, so we'd fix them and make it stronger, better, and faster, and more reliable, and it just progressed from there. And it's an old school, paddock fun type stuff in the sense that you're on the handbrake and you talked about drifting before. I guess it really is sort of that on steroids in some ways, isn't it? Oh, absolutely. Our history comes from way back. Paddock bash, like you said, you've been a crazy man, mucked around in grass paddocks, and it kind of blossomed from there. Yeah. And we put hydraulic handbrakes in them, do handbrake turns and 360s, and slide in corners, and the faster and more crazy stuff we do, the more the crowd love it. And sure enough, we've hit plenty of our walls and hit each other plenty of times, and we just take part and parcel. We know it's going to happen. We know that's what the crowd want to see, so we keep doing it. Like Mad Mike told me in the podcast series about the speeds now that they can tip these things in backwards and slide them. I mean, what they're doing with tyre technology and car control is remarkable in drifting now, isn't it? Absolutely. Mad Mike's great what he does. And and progression is a crazy thing. Like I said, we started with a couple of VU utes.
Yep.
We put exhaust systems on a cam in them.
Yep.
Had something like 400 horsepower. We thought the most powerful things in the world.
Yep.
My drift car now is a Chevy Camaro with a NASCAR engine in it, and it runs the Albin's transaxle rear end. So it's the only drift car in the world that runs a transaxle rear end. So it's got 850 horsepower. And it's crazy bit of gear. It's absolutely off his head. So exactly what Mike said, the entry speed to a corner is about triple what it used to. Like things like I got clocked at Bathurst, Phillip Island, around turn 2, and I was doing 240 k's an hour sideways. So it was pretty impressive.
Amazing. NASCAR engine came from where? Obviously, it's a Chev.
Yeah, well, NASCAR engine came from the Kellys. Yeah. I was desperate to search for one, and Todd said, "Oh, yeah, I'll got one." So he was changing his NASCAR engines over to Nissan engines for his boats. He had 2 NASCAR engines for sale, so he's been great. He's been such a good help. If anything ever stuffs up, he's the first one to give a hand to help fix it, and it's really good.
Matt's talking about Todd Kelly there and the Kelly Racing team. Rick Kelly obviously has been a Bathurst winner and a Supercars champion. So, and you know, we're sharing the paddock with him as we record this here. Let's talk about Belle Isle, Detroit. 2016. You can't remember?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You can't?
Nah. It was as you said, it's definitely my worst accident to date by a long shot. I was over there for a weekend. I spent 3.5 weeks there. I remember touching down on Belle Isle, and I remember coming home to the Gold Coast. So I spent a week in hospital in the Gold Coast. So I remember. In between that, I was pretty much a vegetable because of my brain injury, and my list of injuries went on. I broke my neck, a bite came through and through my chin, and took out my whole bottom jaw, took out 9 teeth of mine. I had all fluid on my lungs, had what they call a tracheotomy through my neck so I could breathe. Yeah, I was a pretty bad way. I got footage. My wife was there by my side the whole time, and my jaw was wide shut because I had no jaw. And them just trying to torture me. I was a zombie. I was a vegetable. So it was a bad way.
In a bad way. How close did it come? In motor racing, they use the term DNF, mate. You did not finish. You're gone. You know. How close did it come to you leaving?
Yeah, it was pretty close. I heard yesterday actually through my good friends at SSC. The SSC gang are the drivers are the best gang I've ever met. They're so good. But apparently, I can't remember anything, but I got told this. The ambulance picked me up from the track. The whole race was cancelled, stopped because the ambulance had to pick me up from the track. And the ambulance was going down the front straight. I had to pull up, and people didn't know why I was pulling up on the front straight of Detroit. And I was pulled up for about 5 minutes, and then left it again. And apparently they pulled up because they had to resuscitate me and get back to life. Yeah, so it was a close one.
So you're talking there a moment ago about SST Stadium Super Truck guys. That's what you were competing in there. They're an amazing machine for all sorts of different reasons. Have you been able to look back at it and comprehend what went wrong now, or do you try not to?
No, absolutely. It's something where I feel sorry for people like Robert Gordon because people may think it's the trucks that will cause my injury, and it was far from the trucks. It was the terrible way the track was put together. Okay. Every concrete pillar around a street track, such as Adelaide, and Gold Coast, every street track, has got our big concrete blocks and held together with a massive big steel pin that makes them join. There was no steel pins. So when I came around the corner and I rolled it on my roof, hit the concrete barrier, it moved the barrier. So I moved that barrier, and the next barrier was a guillotine. So it sliced the whole roof of the truck and sliced my head off with it.
Crikey.
So we went through massive big inquiry why, and got no answers, so we got nowhere with it.
So at the time you end up in hospital in the States, how was that side to deal with? And is it true? I think did you end up coming back on like Roger Penske's private jet or something? How did you get back?
Yeah, Roger Penske was great. I mean, I might have been a bit of a guilt trip, but it was great help. He gave me a private jet from Detroit to LA, and it flew myself and my wife and my brother and 2 doctors with me to make sure I could fly all right. And when I got to LA, I had a private suite, and they put me in first class and flew me home. They shouldn't have flown me home, because when I arrived on the Gold Coast, I was in hospital again for another 6 weeks, and they kind of let me out. Before they let me out, they said, "We'll give you an MRI scan on your brain." And they gave me a scan of brain, and half my brain was blood. So they quickly raced me in for emergency brain surgery, and I drained all the blood in my brain, and I was in hospital for 13 weeks in total.
So in flying back then with the brain like that was another massive risk, was it?
He absolutely could have died on the plane, because you get a brain injury, you shouldn't fly. At the time, they didn't realise I had a brain injury because I didn't do an MRI in my head. But yeah, because of all the blood on my brain, could have died instantly.
That's the end of lap 1 of my chat with Matt Mingay. Make sure you check out part 2 as we get deeper into the crash that almost killed him, the incredible comeback, and why he never lost the fear of going fast and pushing the boundaries.
Rusty's Garage is written and presented by me, Greg Rust. Series producer and editor is Alex Mitchell. Audio production by Darcy Thompson.
Listener.